I was watching. Okay, Brian. Brian Greene, and he was talking about what may have existed before the universe. I think I'm like 30, 40 minutes into it. And it's gonna involve like conspiracy and I forget what else. But I also think this idea could be used as like, like because there's this thing, one of the guys I talked to about conspiracies, one thing he brought up that came to my mind when I was watching this and I was like thinking this out is he believes the earth is a lot bigger than what they're telling us. Just that, I don't know how far that goes, what that means, but it just means it's bigger. So I used, when I was thinking about this and stuff like that, I came to mind that maybe that it's the same thing, not necessarily with Earth, but the what's in the heliosphere, which is like the bubble that protects us from space. I guess apparently the space we're in, that's space. But once you pass the heliosphere, it's an even more dangerous space. So, okay. He's talking about the rules we are universe and how we have to that was how things are perfectly made for us. And it seems like that might be some like coincidence, but it's just the reality of the situation. And right, so I was like, okay, this is what I wrote. What if our rules of our galaxy and the universe and this idea that the other galaxies are part of the universe is because of the lies it told us, because we are encompassed in the heliosphere, and basically those other stars are different universe engulfed in their bubbles with their rules of physics. Galaxies are essentially a complex universe or a fully developed universe, a dense galaxy/universe. Basically, striking the idea of universes and the stars we see could be within our galaxy, and those could be solar systems themselves or pixie dust forming a sun. Also, the idea of our size is a lot different than we think. So, because if we look into our sky and see billions of stars and think, how could that much stars fit our hemisphere, which may seem really possible because our ideas of size is far off. Also, as I mentioned, stars being pictures, think of them as fireflies. Mentioned how some astronauts said they saw snake-like beings in space. It could be unique ships, but it could also be space is able to have livable organisms because of the heliosphere blocking the harsher parts of space. Like a dream, what if the multiverse or parallel universe is playing out as we exist? Whatever takes hold is the multiverse parallel to exist, and deja vu is a factor of And deja vu is a factor of two timelines existing or have their vividness, but will eventually come together once a crossroad happens. Okay, so what's that fucking smell? Oh shit. Uh, oh my god. Anyways, okay, the helisphere. Okay, there's like fucking like layers and shit. Our solar system is like fuck. Helisphere. Well, I think that's the perfect one. Okay. I'm basically shrinking because it's basically just shrinking the universe into our solar system. And the way I would say is maybe you know how that's they you know what's crazy? I don't fucking yawn. I haven't yawned the whole fucking day until I start. Every time I start doing this shit, I fucking yawn. I don't know why. It's crazy. But the helisphere. What I'm basically doing is just shrinking the universe, or maybe saying the reality of what they're telling us is not reality. I swear to God, I wasn't yawning, and every time I start yawning, it's for some reason when I do this shit. Then I start yawning for some fucking reason. Basically, you know how you see it out there. Well, you can't really see the stars as well, but if you know, obviously, if you take all the light off and shit like that, and it's complete darkness, our sky's littered with stars. And my thing is maybe, because it's basically our solar system, and then you have to have like there's like shitload of like the. I don't think it's a helisphere, but it might be it. But it's not the helisphere. Or cloud. It might be the Oort cloud. The helisphere is a bubble of solar wind charged particles surrounding the planet's. Okay, I might be getting the wrong. It might be. I mean, what's after the Oort cloud? It might be the Oort cloud, dude. It's the Oort cloud. No, sorry. Maybe I'm right. Maybe it's a helisphere. Yeah, it's a helisphere. I'm right. No, I'm not right. The components of the helisphere. Yeah, what are the layers that protect our system? The primary protective layers of our system is the helisphere, a massive bubble-like region created by the solar wind that shields the solar system from galactic cosmic radiation. Other protective layers include the sun's outer atmosphere, corona, and the space of the magnetic sphere and atmosphere layers. Or a theoretical spherical cloud of icy object far beyond the helisphere that may offer some protection. Okay, well, okay, so here's the idea is making the universe smaller, and everything is actually all those stars you see is actually my idea is, as obviously I don't think this is the case, but I think it's a cool idea, which is I'm just tricking everything and basically making. It's just shrinking the idea and making everything a weird call. So the solar system, all the stars you see, it's actually in our helisphere, and those distances they say are actually a real thing. It's just more or less of the space we take in this helisphere is probably a lot smaller than we think, and we the space we take in this helisphere is more smaller than probably we think, and everything in it so far is in the helisphere, and all these solar systems are in there, and if you see maybe because there's like the Milky Way. I never understood the idea of how you see the Milky Way, but you're basically seeing the arms of the Milky Way spiraling. So it's like those spirals of the Milky Way. You're basically seeing one of the spirals and stuff like that. So it makes sense to me now, but I think some of these things like that might be dense universes, or it could just be dense, a very dense solar heliosphere that has a lot of solar systems in it. It's an idea I don't like that. It's like whatever, but I think the other thing that I think is probably more cooler is like it's one of those conspiracies. I think they said they astronaut seeing snakes in space. The astronaut saw most report seeing snakes or eels roughly 7-8 feet long floating outside his spaceship on two separate shuttle missions. He described them as having internal waves and swimming, speculating that they could be or appear like detached rubber insulation shells. I think the helisphere is able to protect us from, no, this is the case. The helisphere is protected from a more dangerous space than the space we are, and I think either or. I think this is like more or less of the cooler idea, and maybe this is how you could make a. Because you know how there's things like I do it, but you know how there's things where you just like say, oh, I like this idea, this concept, but not really have anything behind it other than you like the concept. This could be like, okay, some logic behind it. You could either not deal with the whole thing. You could still live in that. You could still be in the idea that we're in the in the helisphere is only our solar system, and not the fact that I'm trying to say is the helisphere is basically withholding our universe and our recall. Oh yeah, that's what I also want to go about. But I'm gonna finish this one. So they say that's what. There's some astronaut said he's on a 7 to 8 feet long recall, and I think space, the harsher space outside of the helisphere, either or. That's where these space-like worms or these creatures that could live in space are becoming either outside and they're coming into our hemisphere and invading this space. So, so there could be like that, or these creatures in space can only exist in our solar system because of the heliosphere. So just imagine maybe, because I remember watching the Star Wars I think it was a Star Wars animation where they had like whales floating in space, and that could and this would be more or less of giving that a possibility, where you could have a whale existing in our solar system because the heliosphere is protecting it, and this is the thing I want to talk about, but all the physics and shit like that, whatever, can make this specific creature in this specific space that we are entrapped in the heliosphere. But once the heliosphere just fucking goes off line, it just disappears, and we're just fucked by all the space radiation and shit like that. That will kill. Well, obviously, will kill everybody, even those space creatures that are floating in space in our heliosphere. And that's also thing I wanted to bring up too, because he talks about the physics and how the physics is unique to our universe, and maybe in different universes it's different, and certain life are able to exist in that universe because of whatever physics that's playing a part in that universe it's creating. It will exist, it can only create these certain things. So I think that's maybe, because I'm also thinking about aliens and how they talk about the travel and how long it takes them to travel, and there's some because this is all when I say aliens and shit like that, this is some of the conspiracies that goes around and floats, but they basically said Earth is like a pit stop, which it's before they reach another part of another solar system. And I'm thinking either you take the idea we're shrinking in the universe into the heliosphere, instead of the hemisphere just being our solar system. And so you could either take that part where I'm shrinking the universe into our hemisphere, or you could take the part our hemisphere just encompassing our solar system. But it could go both ways. No, but the one I want to go about is the one with the alien, because also they mentioned something. This is thing I was watching. They're talking about etched symbols on UFOs and what's the purpose of them. And this idea came to mind because I know there's like some movies or some things I've probably seen where if you put lettering or some shit like that, there's like powers into those words and symbols and shit like that. And I'm assuming maybe that's the case with this, and maybe these aliens are traveling from a different universe, which is we call, and just entering, maybe using etch symbols to be able to enter the hemisphere. Well, I guess like a to adjust the ship to the helisphere, or to the physics in that helisphere. Exactly what? I don't know. If that's the idea. As I mentioned, I think maybe the way we could all be inside the helisphere, all the stars, our universe, instead of our universe having a bunch of hemispheres where solar systems are being protected from the more harsher sides of space, I'm just shrinking all that into a helisphere and creating that bubble, and other universes are basically just we call, and what we're seeing is that, and essentially we already have formed our universe, but we're using this idea. We have a greater expansion. The greater expansion outside is where instead of being just a bunch of universes that we might be seeing, and maybe the more visible, more clustered looking like ones are the universes, a new universe itself. So because you look into our space, which may also be because of this, also as I mentioned, because I just think there's other there with sometimes stars being something. I think the stars you see are solar systems and stuff like that, and sometimes you see some of these stars that maybe just dying out or whatever, but maybe also those are like fireflies. And it goes straight into the idea of the snakes. When an astronaut said he was witnessing snakes from out when he was looking out in outer space, he was seeing snakes. He was also talking about multiverses and parallel universes, and I guess a thought came to me. I don't know why I say like a dream. I think the idea with the dream would be some dreams you're able to hold and some dreams you're not, and I think maybe that's what happens. We are essentially playing out these things in real time with different different, like just say you like a parallel universe, like you know how they have there's several things directions you could take, and you think about those directions every day, and some of them you do, some of you don't, and I think basically that's what it is. We are taking those directions until one is, I guess, the one we are more convicted, more uh, more willing to take the path for the path that is more stronger and stuff like that. That's the path we'll take, and other parallel thing will collapse into that. And then there's ones where it's deja vu. I think that might be where two paths are vivid enough that those are both existing until one finally engulfs the other, and whatever which one it engulfs. So say just say I had two options to eat, and no, I had like five options to eat. Two of them are realistically something I will get. The other three are like, I want it, but I really don't want it. So first option pizza, second option hamburger, third option fish, fourth option Chinese food. Fifth option is cereal. Chinese food's out. It's an idea, but you're not really wanting it. So it quickly fades into either the other four: cereal, sushi, pizza, hamburger, sushi, and cereal. So that one is gonna engulf right there. Just say it gets engulfed in cereal. Then also the other option, sushi, it is an adopt. It is adopt, but it's too expensive, so it immediately goes into cereal. Cereal is cool, but you ate cereal, so it goes into this. And then you have pizza and burgers, and instead of those are real decisions. And instead of being like, the reason why they're real decisions is because those two things are hard cravings. Those are two hard cravings, and they just have more of a real path. I like the cereal because you could eat cereal. It's right there, the arm's length. But you already ate cereal, and you're like, nah, I can't do it again. And then there's sushi, but you had the idea. But it's so. These things are so. These are dots that you had, but they're like they're not serious. Where these two are serious, and they're so serious that you have a dilemma, and then those two exist, and then when those two exist paths, and whenever which one is more vivid, and which one takes more stake into the reality, what would that would be? Maybe it's more or less of how good you feel about that decision, and that another thing would be how bad you feel about the decision. Is it because you could have a bad decision and you know it, but you still do it and it happens. But okay, so essentially after that, it could be, well, I'm gonna say it could be how good you feel about that decision, and then it'll collapse into that, where when it collapses, it will collapse because of because see, the other thing I'm thinking about too is I had the thought, man, and just disappeared. Because the thought I'm having is, okay, so you're like, okay, I'm happy about this, and this is the one I really felt recall, and it collapses, so the other thing collapses, and then you go back and you think about the two options that you really took seriously, which is the hamburger and pizza, and you're like, okay, I could have had the hamburger and I would have liked it and stuff like that, but I'm glad the pizza happened and I ate the pizza. And see, that just don't make sense, but because because it could be a bad decision too. And how does I don't know. Maybe that was a dumb thought. It's just, and there's this other thing too, like energy, what energy you give out. If you put negative energy out there, you're gonna bring negative energy towards you. If you put positive energy out there, you bring positive energy and so forth, right? So I think that's how it happens. Even though your attention might be self-serving and positive in your eyes, or feed into whatever pleasures it might have, like just a negative one, or whatever the case may be. Maybe maybe those parallel universes are based on energy and how you conduct yourself. So if you have positive energy, could that be like the, because it's more or less of, if it's positive always, because it goes through that God thing where you're like, why is there bad in life? Why have anything evil? Couldn't God just get rid of the evil? And I guess the Christian idea would be the reason for that is to, I don't know, get right with yourself and shit. Like, I don't know what it was. I forgot the idea of their explanation of why there's bad. But I think you can't always have a positivity and expect the positivity constantly to hit, because something bad will happen. Is that just negative energy people are having? Because there's the other thing too. It's like sometimes it just happens because that's how life plays out, and it's just weird. But sometimes it could be the case where, you know, like, don't wish evil on somebody, and you're like, oh, this for this person and shit like that, and it happens, and you're like, oh my god, we call it. And maybe that's the case too, where you're dealing with a negative energy that's probably, even though it's a good outcome and stuff like that, you can't good vibes. A negative person, the negativity is so strong from the outside that they're able to disrupt your positive, because it's that strong. I'll say something. Sometimes it's just weird how things play out. And I think this could be the case too, because I'll say, like, it was Thursday. I work graveyard, so I go in at Thursday into Friday, and the idea was I was already gonna go to Muay Thai, but there was a part of me I was like, I could, because the reason I wanted to go to Muay Thai on Friday was because I had to pay for the month and stuff like that. But I'm like, my payment day is on I think the 8th or the 9th. So either I'm on one day late or on time. So maybe I just do a Monday, but you know what I'm saying, I'm battling right? Then I'm work, because I work I clean bathrooms and shit. Some guy with a hoodie on, and he had like a satchel on, and he had a elephant. What is that elephant? A lucky elephant. I think it's for the Philippines. I think it's the Philippines. But I had one of my people inside the gym I go to. She gave us a lucky elephant, and I remember this guy on his century had the lucky elephant. And I'm like, oh shit, that's got to be a sign, right? And I think maybe sometimes, it, because maybe the luck, well, like the whole we ties positive energy. I'm a happier person after and stuff like that because all the people just working out helps them. So that's good vibes, good energy, and maybe the paths are sometimes just pretty. It's not. It's like I was gonna. I had like I didn't want to go. I had like second thoughts of it because not good energy. The day was not good energy. Bad energy. Saw that. It's like fuck. I might have to go because that might be a sign and stuff like that. And maybe good vibes, good energy is I was giving out bad energy because I was just bad energy. I was bad energy Anthony, and seeing that lucky elephant, even though I had like I'm not sure I'm not sure how much I would have thought about going or not going if I didn't see that lucky elephant. Yeah. So after I left work early, and there's like parts of me like I don't know, I don't want to go. Maybe I could just play Arc Raiders and fine. There's a podcast that I made that I didn't. It was like 2 hours long, and the only reason I didn't publish it is because I was so fucking shit talking this one person. But what I also mentioned is how these things like video games, social media like once I step outside into the world, I get depressed. But once I go back inside my house, play video games, go on social media, happy, and I did talk about that the depression and stuff like that. So the whole thing was cool, but it is more or less a recall. But I was thinking about doing that. I was thinking about doing Arc Raiders, but instead I decided. Well, no, I decided to clean up shit around my house and then go to the recall, and. Good energy, and I don't know, and I would say this is probably just what would have happened anyways. That particular podcast, which I did it on, I think Wednesday or Thursday. Maybe and the thing I'm talking about is like how Destiny video game company Bungie told the players because they were asking so much from the company that would be ridiculous, and how I was comparing that to these people too, these streamers who are demanding so much from these people, and I just related to that how Destiny told the fan base, go play another game. You can always come back, but go play another game, because the recall, right? And then I in the next day, because the way I was talking on it was very negative. Next day, I see these two people I mentioned play a different game. And I'm not saying recall, I'm just saying how these two people I mentioned, I was during, well, one I'm not throwing negative energy at, the other one I was very throwing negative energy at, and they started to, the next day, they, like, even though it's like there's like a lot of, it's a weird thing sometimes because it so happens so often. I'm pretty sure people experience it too, where it's just so fucking weird how often you're thinking about something or recall, and like in my case the podcast and shit like that, it starts to be like the things you're talking about or you things you're thinking about come up, and it's like, what is that? And I think you know what? Okay, that whole part. This is gonna be a weird one because I really wanted to go into that spaceship and only focus on the spaceship. This is the most dark thing, right? And it's like a bitch thing, right? I'm like, there's this movie I wanted to watch because one of the conspiracy podcasts I watch when they talk about WeCall. One guy said that the Adjustment Bureau is basically time travelers adjusting time and shit like that, right? And the whole, I was like, okay, I'm gonna see that, and I'm gonna see how cool that is and stuff like that. And it's basically like a love story, and this guy don't want to, because the time travelers wanted him to succeed in life and to be president and stuff like that, but he wanted to find the love of his life, which is this lady, and they're stopping him because they want him to be president, but he wanted to be in love, and no matter how much they're trying to predetermine his destination, he's constantly breaking it, and then they're like, okay, you have free will. And I'm thinking, because I'm like super like depressed. And I was like, as a bitch, I was like, maybe that's happening to me. Maybe the Adjustment Bureau is like, you're gonna have this wall over you, and you're not gonna go past that wall because we know you, and you're gonna go to this path, and maybe this path is me being a successful writer or a podcaster or whatever. And they said, we want you to go on this path because you will change the lives we call. But if you go past this wall because you want to find love, and you find it, it's gonna take you off your trajectory, and we don't want that. And that's part of me is like, when I look at everything, like, maybe that's what's happening. Maybe that's why I'm not recall and stuff like that. This is to say, there's sometimes where I have a thought, I'm like, boom, 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 and this could be just coincidence, but it happens. I'm pretty sure it happens a lot to other people, because I heard people say, "Oh my God, that's happened to me." But basically, shit lines up. So you're like me. I said, oh man, I kept thinking about this, and also there's a podcast about this that I'm watching. Like, what the heck? And obviously, it could be the recall, the computers and how they're listening to us and stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe I was about to say it happened to me young too, when this wasn't such a bad case that we're dealing with the whole listening. But what if? Because I want to be like more of a negative. Would be like, what if these things or whatever is keeping us to this path? In other words, they're making us not necessarily maybe the government, but the time travelers or the Adjustment Bureaus are keeping us to our paths, and that's why we have constant recall. And so I forgot, there's something I was thinking about, either aliens or science shit, and then they got this guy who's talking about alien science shit. Like, oh my God, I gotta watch it. And it's like, okay, so this takes you off, or whatever the case may be. He's like, it's keeping you on the path of whatever path they're going, and maybe it's a negative path or a positive path, whatever is the path is they're letting you take it, and it's more or less of breaking that. And I think this might be the indication of the overlook of someone who's maybe free-willed or who aren't time stuck. So if they're not time stuck, they're able to see and adjust as such that everybody gets to see it at the certain time, at the right time, and it's like it all seems coincidence because it's meant to seem coincidental. And that's how maybe you're able to break from it, is when you no longer accept those calls. And I think those calls are becoming so abundant that it's leading us in so many wrong directions instead of the directions that we need to take. And I guess the only thing I would probably say would be, for me, there's two directions that I feel, what my body feels, like this internal feeling of like uncertainty. And one would be when I write, like when I was writing my stories. When I started working on, because I've been working on it. There's a long layoff that I stopped working on my stories, and recently, I think it was February, I started working on them, and this feeling in my recall, I had this weird sensation of uncertainty but excitement because I'm going on this path again, and it's like maybe that's the branch we're branching out of whatever coincidence they're giving us. And I guess because coincidence has this positive things, like, oh, maybe this is a sign, this is a good sign, and maybe that's a lesser people are taking those coincidences instead of that uncertainty, and taking those uncertainties will probably break you from the coincidence, the paths that we call. And I think, I think maybe deja vu is coming back to the path, and that's a negative path. So so as I mentioned, writing the stories gives me this recall. So the right thing would be to focus on it, on every aspect when I'm at work. No, not during work, but when I go to, at the times I need, like at lunch and before work, because I have an hour before work and I have an hour at lunch. Work on there, come home, work on there, and don't watch nothing but just work on it. And I'm slowly breaking free from this path, and now I'm fully running, and I'm succeeding everything, and then I'm constantly in this uncertainty, this feeling of excitement in my recall. But at some point, I'm like, okay, I'm drifting back into my path. And that's in that path is slowly adjusting and coming back, and you're connecting to that negative path where you would it was adjusting for you to have a basic life, and you're working on your stuff, but you're not working on your stuff. You're playing video games, you're doing all these other things, and that is taking you off from your free will path. But because your free will path happens, this parallel path is falling away, because the free will path is recall. But at the same time, the parallel path is configuring different paths to bring you back to the basic path, the path they would want. And then when you say me, I'm doing the opposite. I'm playing video games. I'm doing everything I did before, and now I'm going back to the path they want me to go in. But the path is a little bit different. But the path is going to essentially try to get me back to the spot where they wanted me to be, until I go break off again. And then that's when deja vu happens. You're like, boom, like have I been here before? Is it like that? And I think that's a idea where deja vu could be a thing. Because deja vu is like what? Experiencing deja vu. Okay, we're not doing that. Already seen. A common feeling, illusion of memory, where a new current situation feels intensely for massive lived through before, despite the possibility of it. So, just that, you're just coming back to a reality that they want you to be in, and that's not the free will reality where you're experiencing things how you want to. I got to go piss. I'm going to pause this real quick. I would like to mention that maybe that feeling is negative. I've been here before, so I think that feeling of I've been here before is probably that negative path. The path you live to die, whereas the free will would be you live to live. And then, and I guess it says it happens to 2/3 of people, and I think the way you would put it is the people who probably don't experience it are people who are free will, and what they will experience, if anything, is when they hit deja vu, which is the path they're gonna take. It's gonna be constantly, if they're the people who don't experience deja vu are the paths that are so free that they don't experience it, and the only reason why they experience deja vu would be it became so because that path is still existing. The only difference is you're further away from the main path, and this path is trying to create because your free will is like your free will. If there's a person who's free will, basically you're creating your own path on your terms and shit like that, and it's going to be like this rocky recall. Sometimes you might inch toward the main path that they want you to live, but you as a person who it might be this misstep or whatever the case may be. You could have constant missteps to the main path, but most likely if these people are good and mentally well, they will constantly go up and down on the free will path, that they won't ever touch it. But once it happens where they keep having these missteps to reach the parallel path, which has multiple branches, and the only reason why it has your parallel path is like fucking okay. So my parallel path compared to someone who's a achiever, my parallel path is 1, and 1 because my path will be I'm living to die. So that's my path. So it's gonna be 1. Yes, I'm gonna probably go to the part where I'm living to live, but because how my path has been, I'm more gonna be closer to my path than I'm gonna be closer to the free will path, and so it's gonna be like 1 or 2, 3, but it's not gonna deviate as much as a free will person, and that free will person, because it's gonna be free, and the main path is gonna be maybe a billion paths, where mine just like maybe 10, because I'm stuck, right? And because I'm stuck, I'm like, so instead of being a straight line, I have like these 2-3 paths in front of me. Yes, I will go to the right side, but most likely I'm going to stay in the middle. If I'm not going to stay in the middle, I'm about to go into the darker side, which is like death, a quicker thing to death. Whereas the free will have like multiple, my 3 to whatever, to like probably like the main path is living life to death. The main path, the opposite path, the right path would be going to free will, but I'm like close to more to the middle, but I'm like, it's like a little hitch, a little branch leaf off of it. And then the other one will be the more darker side, where I'm just giving up and then eventually dying quicker off in the main path. So they want to keep it to the main path. There's a chance you go off in the negative or the positive, but you're going to ultimately you're going to constantly hit the middle. And maybe you hit so much deja vu, it's like, right, you're constantly getting deja vu. It's good, bad, in the middle. And no matter what, because I am not free will, I'm gonna balance from middle, good and bad. And no matter what, as soon as I go good, I seem like I'm branching out to good, which is free will. I will eventually go back to middle, because I'm not good enough in the mental state to keep going free will. And the negative, I'm going close to death, and I'm feeling it, and then I'm like, okay, I don't want to recall and go back to middle. And then deja vu is like, I seem like I've been here before, right? And with the parallel, with the free will one, which is fucking off the recall and doing as they please, they're having so many branches trying to get you in the middle, while trying to get you in the middle, but every decision you make that is free, that you might be feeling this sense of in your recall, in your soul, you're feeling it. It's constantly branching out, and your branches are like so fucking diverse and shit like that, where mine just, I'm going good, nope, I'm going back to bad, I'm going back, going back to middle. And I think once, say, free will starts to go, and you start to have several missteps where you're going to the middle, then I don't think you'll know what that is, because that will be so unfamiliar to you that you wouldn't think of it as deja vu. Whereas I would be like, oh, I feel like I've been here before. That thing happened to me once, where I was like, I was working at Wendy's, and I'm like, I remember opening a cabinet, and I was like, saw a trash bin, and I'm like, this feels weird. This feels weird because it feels like I've been here before, but I'm like, I never been to this Wendy's or any of that cases. I never opened the Wendy's vehicle to look at trash. And maybe that was me I was starting to branch out, and then I came back. Right? And I think once the person who constantly messed ups and hits it, they won't understand that. It will be more of a negative feeling, because they were so used to having free will and going onto a path that was predetermined for them, just would feel like death itself. And some will lay in it and stick in the middle and accept it, while some will try to go back to free will, or some will just fucking continue to misstep until So I thought of that right now, and that sounds pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I think there's several things I talked about. Basically, maybe I'm shrinking it universe into a helisphere that we are in, and they're lying to us because there is you know facts where NASA doctored images of Mars when reality when they were showing like red skies when it was actually blue skies or some shit like that, like blue gray skies. But NASA didn't want you to see that, so they doctored it to look like that. And the way they found out was because they found the source file, which is they found the thing where there was edits, and they showed the edits being done in Adobe. That's a editor software. So I'm saying maybe our universe might be in the helisphere, and we are the things that they're telling us about maybe the distance or like that may be far different than we are led to believe and stuff like that, or maybe it is the fact. And what I would say maybe also snakes and animals, creatures, space creatures could exist because they live in the helisphere, or they exist outside our helisphere, and maybe some have creeped into our helisphere because evolution, evolution, because they're able to enter the helisphere. So maybe there's a thing right there that's fun. If you're a writer, that's fun. You could be like, oh, that's a lot. That's instead of having no good logic behind it, which I have done a million times. There's logic right there. You're like, oh, that could be a thing. That could explain it. Something like, oh, how's that possible? Is that like, oh, well, because we live in a hemisphere, and maybe same thing as like Earth, where we have special animals. Maybe the space has special animals and it's able to exist. And this is based off of NASA astronaut seeing snakes, 7 foot, 8 foot snake. It could be an advanced looking UFO. It could be an advanced UFO, but it could also be a space creature that's able to exist in space, which is very possible because like anything, I think there's this, I'm not sure if it was ours or outer space, but there was this creature that was, I think it was outer space, I think it was a meteor, but a creature that was living in space, that's able to live in space for a certain amount of period, in open space. That's a thing, like a bacteria. So, I don't know, like maybe a day or two, I don't know. It's able to exist in space. And I think it could die. I think it dies, but I think it could actually live in open space. So that's an idea that you could play with. But I think that could be a very real possibilities, as you know, so many times we think something is inhabitable. Some creature pops up and says, "No, we could live in this." So it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. And then the parallel universe, the parallel slash free will idea, I think that's super fucking cool. I also think maybe stars are fireflies for some reason. Pixie dust. Galaxies are essentially a complex. I also think maybe the things you see right there could be a very complex universe where it's full of stars. Like us, just as the idea of helisphere, and how we have a compact, instead of being just our solar system, inside this helisphere, it's the universe itself. I'm just shrinking everything down into the helisphere, and the idea would be they're lying to us, and we're a lot more closer, or whatever the case may be. But I think that's it. As I'm reading this, also because I can see a plan so the start fits in which may seem really possible because our data is far also images. As they let me have some marginal say last night, like it could use ships, but it could also be space is able to be livable organism because of the atmosphere blocking the harsher parts of space. Like a dream multiverse. The rules. Rules. Also, I think that's way that it also. I guess I wanted to make that connection with the helisphere. I think I did with the alien shit, but I was kind of weird about that. Basically, the physics in because the guy was talking about physics and shit like that, and how everything. Well, I mentioned that. I guess I mentioned it, and I just think that I wanted to maybe encompass, not encompass, maybe add the our universe into a hemisphere and shit like that, and maybe that's the actual universe and how that's the actual universe. That's our actual universe, is that hemisphere, and the physics in that is the fixes we have to abide by, and maybe UFOs having symbols or whatever etched into it, maybe that's how they're able to exist in our space. I don't know. But I think that's it. I think I'm fucking done. I think the parallel. I think anything. Two things I think I really liked, and the other thing I didn't really like. I didn't like the fucking helisphere idea, but I like the idea that space creatures could exist in our helisphere, and maybe that's why they're able to exist, or maybe it's outside alien space creatures, and they're moving into our hemisphere and they're able to do that because of whatever reason. I like that idea. I like the universe. I like the free will and parallel, where the parallel is trying to find the main path where it's live to die, while free will is constantly doing live to live and shit like that. And how many branches constantly branching out because the free will is constantly free willing, and the main path is trying to adjust. That's it. Yeah. Bye.